We should be live.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GPVWC Supercup 2017. It's the 6th round of the 2017 championship, and it's Monaco, baby. This one is going to be an incredible meeting. Now, in qualifying, well, we've got to talk about one man, Jeff Fournier, right up in the top spot once again after his strong showing at the Red Bull Ring. This just shows you what winning does to a driver's confidence. The Epic Racing driver is starting from the front of the grid. So Jeff Fournier leads us away on our rolling lap, and it's going to be a very exciting battle. So Fournier is on pole position for this one. Behind him is Alex Siebel. He starts there in the Multiforce GP car in second place. For Mejerick Racing, Vodka Hoekstra starts from P3 on the grid with the Evolution Motorsport driver Dennis Jordan on P4. Mejerick Racing's second driver Dino Paolini lines up in P5 on the grid with Zederik Racing's Jason Muscat rounding out the top 6. Antonio Gralanovic is the first of the Drake Racing cars in 7th, with the TG Racing cars of Borja Milan in 8th and Edgar Ruiz in 9th, looking to put up a strong challenge. Rounding out the top 10 for Zederik Racing, it's Duve Tapper. So as Duve Tapper is there in 10th position, Edward Batalla is in the Racing Team Schroten car in 11th position. For Hinds Motorsport, it's Sandip Choda, who's there in 12th position on the grid. Tom van der Voort is in 13th from Carlos Fernandez in their Drake Racing and Multiforce GP cars, respectively. Gerard Batalla lines up 15th in his Racing Team Schroten machine. Erhan Yajovski, the man who was the superstar in Formula Challenge a few weeks ago, he lines up 16th in the Satellite Racing car. Rob Mason in Epic Racing, making his debut in the championship. Alongside him is the Cosmo Autosport driver, Thomas Andrea Mariosa, who had a fantastic race meeting last night in the Academy car, taking a second place from pole position in the second race. Then it's the ST Racing cars on the top 10, on the 10th row of the grid, Mark Fuller and Dominic Foster are 19th and 20th. For Deltec Racing Team, Stefan Rualt starts in 21st position, alongside Mike Quint in the Cosmo Autosport car. Then in 23rd, it's Matt Strand in the Satellite Racing machine. Johan Lindberg lines up 24th for Deltec Racing Team. And the last two on the grid for Evolution Motorsport, it's Tobias Polotzek. And in 26th position for Hinds Motorsport, it's Wesley Stefano. So as the front runners line themselves up on the starting grid, should be a really exciting battle this. Not entirely sure how this one is going to play out either, because Jeff Fournier obviously wanting to do a fantastic job from last time out at the Red Bull Ring where he got a race victory. He'll be wanting another one now. Who's in the pits? Looks like we've got a couple of drivers opting to start the race from the pit lane. It's Dominic Foster who will start from pit lane. Mark Fuller as well. So it looks as though the two drivers for ST Racing will start the race from the pit lane. We're focusing on the start though. Fournier on the left, Siebel on the right. We're racing in Monaco. Little bit of a sluggish start from Fournier. Alex Siebel's going to beat it to the first corner, but Fournier's going to throw it back up to the inside. And all is well for the moment. There's a spin in the mid-pack. It's Muscat. Muscat spins. So with Muscat spinning, it's going to cause chaos as two or three cars are in trouble. And the entire track is blocked as drivers try and squeeze their way through. Now, yesterday in the first start, we had a couple of big accidents, and it looks as though several drivers are struggling to make their way out of it. Now, we had a red flag yesterday. Are we going to have another one? Jared Batalla's got a missing front wing and a missing rear wing. But it looks to me as though, well, Fuller and Jajovski are still off the circuit in the barriers a little further up the hill after the first corner. Jajovski's out of the race because of broken suspension. Fuller and Batalla are trying to get the cars going again. But it looks to me as though we are not going to be on a red flag. So Fournier has taken the lead. Siebel in second from Hoekstra, Jordan, Paolini and Borja Milan, with Rolanovic in 7th, Duve Tapper in 8th position from Sandip Choda and Edgar Ruiz. Tom van der Voort and Jason Muscat are going side by side. Now Muscat was in the middle of all of that at the start. It was him who initially spun, but he's managed to get the car going again, and in 12th position no less. Mason is having a look up the inside. Doesn't make the move done there on mate on Muscat with Mike Quint trying to come through as well. Stefan Rualt is next from Foster. Lindberg, Strand, Polotsek. Edward Batalla is struggling to get back to the pits. Muscat is in the pits as well. So Wesley Stefano is currently 20th. Andrea Mariosa is in 21st. Fernandez is out. Jajovski is out. And we've got Jason Muscat in the pits. I have a feeling that Fuller and Batalla are both going to be a bit. Batalla can't even keep his car in a straight line as he brings it back to the pits. But Jason Muscat has made his way into the pits. So too Edward Batalla and Gerard Batalla. He's desperately trying to get the car back to the pits, but he's not going to do it. And Jeff Fournier is coming up to lap him. Now, this is going to be a problem if Batalla can't get his car off the racing line. Fournier continues through and continues to lead. Now, Siebel keeps going. But the big question is, Gerard Batalla, no, Batalla's decided the race is over. He's out of it. So, thank goodness for that. I was not in his case. Obviously, I'm not wishing bad luck on a racing driver, but I did wonder if him trying to get back to the pits was going to cause a problem for the leaders coming through, and it won't. So Fournier leads it. Siebel second. Hoekstra is third. Jordan in fourth position ahead of Paolini, Milan, Relanovic, Due Tapper, Sandip Choda, and Edgar Ruiz. Now, Matt Strand is in a battle at the moment. Oh, Dominic Foster's tried to get him. And that's put Foster into the barriers. That's a big shunt for Dominic Foster. And I think he might be joining them on the sidelines. That was a really, really big hit for Foster. Now, don't forget, this is the pit stop race. So they've got to look after their cars. And unfortunately, Foster has not. His race ends on lap 2. So Jeff Fournier is on his third lap. And he's already extended his advantage to 2.9 seconds. This is an absolutely fantastic run as Fournier nearly loses it coming out of Tabac. Out of the Portier, sorry, on the way to the tunnel. Very close battle. Now, interesting. Signosphere on YouTube says if the damage system was realistic, everyone would be out by now. Well, maybe 6 of them would be still running because at least 6 of them made it through without too much damage. Although Fournier has pushed it very hard. On the way out of the swimming pool, he nearly loses it. Siebel second, Bobko Hoekstra third. Dennis Jordan fourth from Paolini and Milan. Now, these cars are a lot more aggressive than the Formula Challenge cars we saw racing last night. We had a red flag in race 1, but we had start line incidents in every single start, and we had 3 starts altogether in the 2 races. But just like in this first race, there was an incident in the Formula Challenge races on both occasions, but the race officials decided to keep the race going. Jeff Fournier throwing his car around the circuit, getting a little bit airborne, it looked like there for a moment. But Fournier still 2.8 seconds clear. We saw several drivers dropping it yesterday as the pressure got to them. But this is a really difficult circuit and they've got another 42 laps of it, including this one, to negotiate. We're on lap 4 of 45 and Fournier leads. Siebel second from Hoekstra, Jordan, Paolini and Borja Milan. Now in the mid-pack, we've got a few drivers trying to work their way around the circuit. Mark Fuller is already a lap down as he has rejoined the circuit. Trying to figure out where he has rejoined. I think he's got back on the circuit in behind Tom Vandervoort, who is 11th on the road. So Muscat and Batalla have been into the pits to repair their cars. From their point of view, they may as well keep their cars on the racetrack if they can drive them, because with a race with as high attrition rate as this, several more drivers are likely to drop out. So it's going to be a really interesting battle to see if he can keep it going. Now, a question from Matthew Allington: has Lindberg dropped it? He lost some positions there. Well, yes, he is down in 17th position. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him. He's showing up as behind Polotsek on my replay, so that must have happened in the first lap or so. But Lindberg is there in 17th. My co-commentator for Super League, Josh Anderson, is watching. He says everyone seems to be going nicely thus far. Good driving from all. I think you're going to get some of that tomorrow night as well, Josh. Unfortunately, I won't be joining you for it. I did think that I might be able to get in there for all 3 days of racing, but I've suddenly realised that I'm obviously staying at a hotel in Gatwick tomorrow so that I can fly out to the Po Grand Prix, and Wi-Fi is not really recommended to get this done. I was quite willing to take the gaming PC unit to do it, all the way down to London. Oh yeah, that's how dedicated I was, and then suddenly my common sense-ometer suddenly reminded me, Wi-Fi, probably not a good idea. Well, Mason has rejoined the circuit after a pit stop, so he obviously had some damage. And it's his teammate, that leads the way. Jeff Fournier running very well out in the lead of the race. Carefully knitting the eye of the needle at the moment. Trying to get himself a good position here. Siebel is 4.5 seconds behind him, so Fournier has definitely got himself into a good position out in front and has got a good rhythm. So Siebel in second, Hoekstra is third, Jordan fourth from Paolini and Borja Milan. Now Milan has got some pressure at the moment from Antonio Relanovic. So some good battles going on. Relanovic has got some smoke coming off the back of his car. Now, well, that's on my monitor. I don't know whether that's a glitch or whether that's genuine problems. I'm trying to remember if it could be this realistic or not. But there was definitely, both on the feed and on my monitor, smoke coming off of Antonio Relanovic's machine there. So the Drake Racing car was a little bit smoky at that point. Fournier still running out in front of Siebel. Hoekstra, Dennis Jordan, Dino Paolini and Borja Milan giving chase. Relanovic is seventh. No, there is definitely smoke coming off of Relanovic's car in a straight line. Just watching it again. That's interesting. Matthew Allington saying Milan's car is properly dancing around out there. It was, wasn't it? But what is it about Antonio Relanovic's car? It definitely was smoking a couple of times. Ah, Ruiz is gone. Edgar Ruiz is gone. I'm just watching what happened to him. Through the tunnel. Oh, he got wide. Oh, he got wide in the tunnel, Edgar Ruiz. Hit the wall, hit the barrier and rolls it. So Edgar Ruiz is out of the race there at the Monaco tunnel. Upside down. And his race is over. That's a real shame. So unfortunately, that is game over for Edgar Ruiz. And he was running in the top 10, so that's a big problem for him. He was 9th position, I think, when that happened. He was behind Due Tapper. So Matthew Allington says, I can see Antonio's smoke as well. He's probably not got a lot of cooling on his car. He's possibly overheating the engine. Yeah, that is a possibility, actually, Matthew. If he hasn't, if they haven't got the car set up well, if he overheats the engine, then it'll just go pop. And that's a real problem, even in this early stage of proceedings. It's only lap 7, and if Antonio Relanovic has got setup issues, and they're overheating the engine... Yeah, look, there is the smoke again. He's got to be careful of that. He can't keep this up for the whole race. Eventually, the engine is just going to go pop. And it only seems to be when he gets to high-speed parts of the circuit. But there is definitely smoke on Antonio Relanovic's car at the moment. That's interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. Fournier leads, though, and he's lapping back markers. He's just managed to get past Edouard Battalla, who has somehow kept the car going. His teammate, of course, Gerard Battalla, didn't make it past the Nouvelle Chicane. Fournier leads, though. Siebel in second. Vodka Hoekstra third. Jordan, Paolini, Milan. Relanovic still chasing him down. Still smoke coming off the card. Due Tapper in 8th. Sandeep Choda is 9th. And Tom van der Voort is 10th. Mike Quint 11th from Stefan Rualt. Matt Strand, Tobias Polotzek, Johan Lindberg, Wesley Stefano, Jason Muscat, Thomas Andrea Mariosa, Rob Mason, Edward Battalla and Mark Fuller. That is your order at the moment. And we've lost 5. Edgar Ruiz, Dominic Foster, Gerard Battalla, Carlos Fernandez and Ian Yayovsky. So, your race leader, still Jeff Fournier, still looking good at the moment. Josh Anderson notes, there are those who don't like Monaco, but it's such a challenge. It really forces the drivers to bring their best or end up in a wall. 100% brain occupancy for these guys, I'm sure. And he also makes the note that Quint is making nice inroads. He certainly is. He's not doing a bad job here. Up to 11th position, Mike Quint. Closing up on Tom van der Voort, who is in the top 10. But it all looks pretty ship-shape in Bristol fashion for Jeff Fournier. Now, what's going to be interesting here is pit stops. They all have to make one, of course, and they are mandatory in the feature race in Supercup. So it's all going to come down to when drivers are going to pit. They have to start the race, of course, on their qualifying compounds. Relanovic, the car is still smoking badly as he comes down the main straight and then up the hill. Look at this. Relanovic's car smoking like crazy. This is like Olivier Panis at Adelaide 95 in Formula 1. He just keeps on motoring around with smoke billowing off the car. And that is probably because he's just set it up so that the car is just overheating a little bit. Now, Fournier still leads the way here. Siebel in second. Has Siebel got a disconnection? Is Siebel out of the race? I think Siebel's disconnected. Oh, no. Alex Siebel is out of the race. That's exactly what happened yesterday. with one of the Formula Challenge cars up in the top 3, and we just suddenly lost them from the fray. But Alex Siebel has disconnected. His race is over due to electrical failure. Oh, poor Alex Siebel. Great speed from him today, but unfortunately, he was never really going to be in a strong position. Well, 20% completed of the race distance. We are on lap 10 now, and Jeff Fournier is a full 8.5 seconds now in the lead, ahead of Vodka Hoekstra. So Vodka Hoekstra looking good in position at the moment in second place. Dennis Jordan third, Dino Paolini is fourth, and now this Milan and Rolanovic battle is for fifth position, and still Rollanovic's car smoking like crazy. Now I wonder how long that car is going to last like that. And Gordona actually writes on YouTube, running in the slipstream doesn't help with the temperatures, surely. I'm guessing it probably doesn't, Gordona, you're absolutely right. So Rolanovic is probably going to be really struggling there in sixth position, but from his point of view, what can he really do? He's just got to keep the pressure up. He's just got to keep pushing in the hope that the car is just going to last the distance. He doesn't really have anything from his point of view that he can do at this point. Now, Borja had a huge moment into Casino Square, spotted by Matthew Allington. Beautifully recovered. That was a bit scary. I've just watched that back on the replay, actually. Fair play to Borja Milan. That was not easy, and he managed to keep it back. The car still smoking with Rolanovic. And he's not exactly making any mistakes out there, Rolanovic. He's just shadowing Borja Milan's every move, doing what he should do. I guess he's just hoping for an opportunity. As Daniele Brambilla jokes about Antonio Rolanovic, smoking's a bad habit to take up. And unfortunately, it looks as though it's going to be a bad habit for the entirety of this race. He won't be able to do anything about it until the warm-up for the sprint race. But up the hill they go again. And big plumes of smoke off the back of Rolanovic's car. He probably doesn't even know it's doing it at the moment. He'll be so focused out in front, trying to close up on Borja Milan and make a move. From his point of view, he doesn't want to actually make the overtaking move at this point on Borja Milan, unless he's really hemorrhaging time to the likes of Dennis Jordan and Dino Paolini. If they're setting similar pace, he just wants to sit underneath him and see if he can beat him out of the pits. Fournier, though, out in front by 9.5 to Vodka Hoekstra. Hoekstra's got Dennis Jordan a lot closer to him this time round than he has been in previous laps. So it looks as though the Evolution Motorsport driver, Dennis Jordan, really starting to push on onto the back of Vodka Hoekstra. Now, my monitor is lagging the tiniest tad, so I don't want to be dramatic and say drivers are going into the barriers when they're not. So I'll just try and keep up with things as they go. Otherwise, I might have a heart attack the amount of times these cars look like they're going into the barriers. But there is only 20 of the 26 starters left running. We've lost Erhan Yovski, Carlos Fernandez and Jared Patala all on the first lap. Dominic Foster went off at Tabac on the second. Edgar Ruiz lost it in the tunnel on lap 6. And Alex Siebel unfortunately disconnected while running second. So that's one man who's going to be fighting back in the sprint race. Alex Siebel, keep an eye on him next time. As dropping out of the Lowe's hairpin and out through Portier into the tunnel comes Jeff Fournier. The Frenchman doing a great job here, and Fournier looks pretty solid. Now, Matthew Allington writes on YouTube, Antonio might want to pass so he can get some undisturbed air to help cool the engine, and of course, to make driving a bit easier as well. Good point, actually, there, Matthew. Well made. Sitting behind is probably not going to help for too much longer. The problem is, Borja Milan is very much the match of Antonio Rolanovic at the moment, and he's not making any more major mistakes. So it's not causing too much of a difficulty. Antonio Rolanovic is absolutely on Borja Milan at the moment. This is absolutely terrific driving, but he really must be getting frustrated sat behind him. He knows that he's going to be better off if he actually goes for the move and makes it through. So he's going to have to be focusing on that. It's going to be very, very close. Now, Benny Benworth has written on YouTube, not sure I can watch this. Please don't, engine. Please don't. Oh, Ben, I really, really feel for you. But the Drake Racing car is looking a little bit nervous, isn't it? A big slide out there, out of Casino Square from Antonio Rolanovic, but he keeps it together. It's all looking okay at the moment. No major dramas yet. The plume of white smoke is still there, but it's not causing too many headaches at the moment. So we've got Wopke Hoekstra in second, now really being caught by Dennis Jordan. Wopke Hoekstra's gone. Hoekstra's gone. Hoekstra's got a problem. Hoekstra's gone straight onto the chicane. Something's happened to Wopke Hoekstra. It looks to me as though he spun in the tunnel. Yes, he spun in the tunnel and hit the wall. So Wopke Hoekstra is now really seriously in trouble. He's trying to bring the car back, but he's got massive, massive damage. So Wopke Hoekstra, the man in second position, is now struggling back to the pits. Oh, disaster. Disaster for Wopke Hoekstra. And so now the Measurit Racing team are working on his car in the pits. But that's another man in second place to fall. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, that means that Jeff Fournier is now in the lead. Dennis Jordan in second position from Dino Paolini. Borja Milan and Antonio Gralanovic are now fighting for fifth position. That looked like Borja Milan went into the barriers on the exit of Casino Square. Looks like he bounced off the barrier there. Now, if he's careful, that shouldn't have done too much damage. But he's got to be so careful. They've got Dino Paolini. They're actually closing up on in front of them. So this is about to become a battle for third position. Dennis Jordan is on his own in second position. So piling on the pressure to Wopke Hoekstra has eventually worked out in his favour. Now Hoekstra has rejoined in 11th position behind Stefan Rualt. So Fournier leads as he comes out of the Virage on Turning Oaks and goes down the main straight. He leads here with 14 seconds on Dennis Jordan. A third of the race distance just about completed. Well, he's on his 15th lap now, so at the end of this lap, he would have completed a third of the race. Paolini is third, but he's being caught by Gralanovic in Milan. So Gralanovic has found a way through. I want to watch this on replay. Car still smoking like crazy. I think it's Borja Milan's mistake that allowed Gralanovic through. Just want to double check and see what happened. Yes, he lost it. Milan lost it on the way into the Raskas. And that was enough to let Gralanovic back through. Now, what is this going to do for Gralanovic's car? Is clean air going to help him? We will find out because the next man up the road is Dino Paolini. In sixth position now is Douwe Tapper. So Tapper in sixth place in front of Tom van der Voort. Mike Quint is in eighth position as Wesley Stefano gets out of his way to be lapped. Sandeep Choda in ninth position, so not a bad run in the end for the Hinds Motorsport team all in all. Their man Sandeep Choda is in ninth place. Wesley Stefano's just being lapped. In fact, Choda is lapping his own teammate next. Rualt is 10th and Wopke Hoekstra is in 11th place. Fournier's on the main straight and he laps Johan Lindberg to complete a third of the race distance. He's now on lap 16 of 45. So Jordan just runs well and solid in second place. Paolini third. Gralanovic is now fourth, as we know, in front of Borja Milan. Milan's not given up, though. He knows he's made a mistake. Right, into the pits comes Gralanovic. Now, Gralanovic is into the pits. Now, is that because the car is sick and not doing very well? Or is that part of the strategy? Is he the first big name to blink? We'll double up and figure out if this is going to be for a repair or if this is Antonio Gralanovic making a pit. I think it's a bit early, to be honest, for making a scheduled stop. I wonder if Gralanovic has suddenly realised my engine's overheating. I've got to do something. Well, Stefan Rualt is in the pits as well. So maybe this is the first round of pit stops then. Fournier still leads and he's got 16 seconds on the rest of the field. So Josh Anderson says it looked like he slammed into the wall on the screen. It could be lag through to back. I've seen that with a couple of drivers, so potentially, yeah, it might have done. It's tough to tell, unfortunately. I've got lag on my screen, unfortunately, so it doesn't really tell me much. But Stefan Rualt's out of the pits. Tobias Polotsek is out of the pits. Gralanovic is rejoined in 10th position. Still smoke coming off the back of the car. And he rejoins behind Wopke Hoekstra, but right behind Wopke Hoekstra. So that's really important. So Wopke Hoekstra, obviously having made the pit stop, if he's been sensible, that will be the only time he makes a pit stop. And potentially he might get himself back into contention. Now, Matthew Allington asks a question I'm afraid I don't know the answer to. Can you change cooling options in a pit stop? I think Gralanovic is probably hoping he has, but I think that time, even with lag, he definitely might have struck the barrier that time. Through to back. So Gralanovic still really struggling and not quite up to speed yet, but the car is definitely smoking very badly indeed. Well, the engine's getting pretty hot. Hopefully it's going to last the distance, but it wouldn't surprise me if it suddenly decided I've had enough of this. This is silly. But a big slide there from Bobko Hoekstra up the hill. So now Hoekstra is feeling the pressure from Antonio Gralanovic. Now Jeff Fournier has just put a lap on Fuller. And he continues on. Interestingly, both Stefan Rualt and Tobias Polotzek have made pit stops and rejoined, but nobody else seems to. So I wonder if that was just damage and they've decided to take the bold option and let the car run to the end of the race. It's so difficult. It's so difficult here in the so difficult here at Monaco because you've got to get the strategies aligned just perfectly. It's a really difficult position. Matthew Allington writes, Antonio's early pit stop could be so that his engine doesn't die in the pits. Engine temps do spike when sat at a pit stop, and of course his engine's been heating up all race. So yeah, it's a very good point. He's probably deciding discretion being the better part of valor. As into the pits comes his teammate Tom van der Vaart. So Tom van der Vaart in the second Drake Racing car now makes a pit stop. Now where's he going to get out? Hoekstra and Gralanovic are passing the pit. So Van der Vaart is probably going to rejoin, I would think, side by side with Matt Strand, pretty much. He comes out of the pits. There is Matt Strand. He goes through. Now, interestingly, Tom van der Vaart was flirting with the yellow line as he came out of the pit exit. I don't know how strict they are. Now, interestingly, look, Van der Vaart's car is now smoking. Van der Vaart's got the same problem. So it's definitely a setup issue with the Drake Racing cars. But Tom van der Vaart has exactly the same concern. And it looked to me as though he did go off just then into the barriers on the exit of Casino Square. So I think Van der Vaart's got exactly the same problem as Gralanovic. And it's only those two cars, I think, that are smoking as badly as they are. So Fournier leads, Jordan second, Paolini third from Milan, Douay Tapper, Mike Quint, Choda. Gralanovic is fighting his way past Bobko Hoekstra. They're side by side. Hoekstra rubs the barrier, but he manages to get back through. So Hoekstra and Gralanovic battling away for 8th position. Matt Strand is 10th. Van der Vaart is 11th, but his car too is overheating by the look of it. And just scrolling through the rest of the field, it definitely looks like it's a Drake Racing issue only. Every other car out there seems to be absolutely fine. So it's just Drake Racing that has this problem. So I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work out, basically. But the racing is definitely very intense at this point, as this race is all about Jeff Fournier just hanging on to his lead at the moment. Gralanovic and Bobko Hoekstra battle again. And once more, Gralanovic has found a way past Bobko Hoekstra. Just want to see how he did this. He did it up the hill, actually, on the way into Casino Square. Did Hoekstra run wide? Yes, he did. And somehow he kept it out of the barriers. But Gralanovic is now a couple of car lengths ahead. So from Antonio Gralanovic's point of view, this is an opportunity to get away. And it's interesting, the car doesn't seem to smoke when it's in the tunnel. It comes straight back out again, but in a straight line the rest of the circuit, when it's getting up through the gears, it's really smoking. Tom van der Vaart, I think, has pretty much the same problem. I'm just looking back at his car. Now his car is actually not smoking anymore. So Van der Vaart did have a slight issue, but it looks as if he's managed to fix it. So does he know something that his teammate doesn't? Jeff Fournier leads the way through the swimming pool, 20 seconds clear of Dennis Jordan, and all looks fine at the moment for the Epic Racing car. His teammate Rob Mason is the other end of the points in 15th position. But at the moment, it's all about this guy, Jeff Fournier, 20 seconds clear of Dennis Jordan. Paolini in 3rd, Borja Milan is 4th. Douay Tapper in 5th position from Mike Quint. Sandip Choda, Antonio Gralanovic, Bobko Hoekstra, and Matt Strand is your top 10. Then it's Tom van der Vaart, Stefan Rualt, Johan Lindberg, Tobias Polotzek, and Edward Batalla in the points. Then we've got Rob Mason, Wesley Stefano, Jason Muscat, Thomas Andrea Mariosa, and Mark Fuller. That's your field, because we've lost Siebel, Ruiz, Foster, Patala, Fernandez, and Jajovski. Now, yesterday, in Formula Challenge, the first race had a few retirements, but the second had masses of them. I have a feeling it's going to be a similar story in Supercup, because obviously drivers are being careful in this race to try and bring home some good points, try and get a bit more experience for the sprint. It's a lot more frenetic, the sprint race, than Supercup's feature race. So obviously drivers are being a little bit more reserved in this one. But I would like to think that in the sprint race later, it's going to be pretty hellish. Fournier, 21.4 now clear of Jordan. He's pulling away quite nicely, and he doesn't even look to be pushing that hard either. This is a very measured drive from Jeff Fournier, very similar to what we saw from him at the Red Bull Ring 2 weeks ago, in fact. Antonio Vrelanovic up and over the hill as he goes into Casino Square. The car is still sliding, and the car is still billowing smoke at various points on the track. Tom van der Voort does not appear to be anymore. He's caught up to the back of Matt Strand. So we'll wait to see what he does. Matt Strand locking up into Mirabeau. Tom van der Voort is there or thereabouts. As Antonio Vrelanovic gets back on the throttle through the tunnel, I wonder if he's made an adjustment. Have the Drake Racing team been on the blower to him and said, you need to change this? Yes, look, the car is not smoking anymore. Clearly, it looks as though the Drake Racing team have got on top of the issue. And that's looking like a much healthier car. Thank goodness for that. So, Jeff Fournier leads the way. 21.8 clear of Dennis Jordan. Paolini third from Milan. Douay Tapper, Mike Quinn, and Sandip Choda in seventh from Vrelanovic, Hoekstra, Strand, and Van der Voort. Stefan Rualt is the last man on the lead lap. As Jeff Fournier comes up to lap him, he's absolutely rocketing around this circuit. He seems to love this place, and he's racing around the circuit at the moment as if he's a slot car right now. Clearly, he's got a Carrera or Scalextric set at home, and he's been working on it. Into the pits he comes. Just before half distance, Jeff Fournier. On the 22nd lap, Fournier decides this is his moment to pit. So the team working hard to make sure they've got him all fueled up and ready. Well, they've already got him fueled up and ready, of course, onto a new set of tyres, I should say. So now Fournier will exit the pits, I think in second position, because Dennis Jordan is coming down the main straight. So Fournier should exit in second place. There goes Dennis Jordan. No point for Jeff Fournier to battle, or is he going to? There's going to be side by side. Let him go, Jeff. Let him go. Good boy. That was close. I think Jeff maybe for a moment thought maybe I can beat him out. But you know what? Dennis has still got to pit, so don't even think about it. I know he's a racing driver, but Jeff Fournier has obviously decided this is the time to pit. But that could have been very scary indeed for Jeff Fournier. He decides that it's better just to wait. Just like the Guinness adverts, good things come to those who wait. Dennis Jordan in front of Jeff Fournier. Dino Paolini third from Borja Milan. Douay Tapper, Mike Quintin sixth. Sandip Choda is seventh. Eighth is Antonio Vrelanovic. His cooling issues sorted for the moment. Botko Hoekstra in ninth. Matt Strand is 10th and Tom van der Voort 11th. Now, interestingly, before the pit stops, Botko Hoekstra was in front of Antonio Vrelanovic by about 6-7 seconds or so. And as a result of his earlier pit stop, Vrelanovic rejoined behind him. But Vrelanovic has made the overtaking move on Hoekstra, and he's just disappearing. He's put 8 seconds on him nearly in the last couple of laps. So Antonio Vrelanovic has definitely got a better car underneath him now in the Drake Racing machine. They've obviously got on top of the cooling issues, and now the car is absolutely flying. So let's see what's going to happen next then. Vrelanovic and Stefano battling away for position. Jordan in first position at the moment in front of Borja Milan. Jeff Fournier's in fourth. What's happened to Fournier? What's happened? There was contact in the first corner. That's what happened. Jordan got held up. Fournier got held up. And he turned the car around. So Jordan got held up. Milan got held up. Paolini got held up. And they've all just about got away with that. But that was a spin. Now, I'm trying to figure out who it was that spun initially. So a big problem at turn one. A big problem at turn one. Now, I want to see that again. So I'm just winding back the stream. It was a spin from the 91 car, I believe. So problems into turn 1. Just want to watch again. Dennis Jordan there, as they've got a slower car in front of them. Now that looks to me like Fuller. So Fuller, who was in last place anyway, but Fuller loses the car because he's got another car in front of him parked in position. There's another spinner. It's one of the Cosmo Autosport cars that's gone off. I think that is a spin there from one of the front runners, as Tapper has now made a pit stop. Trying to see who it was that went off. I think it was Andrea Mariosa. Yes, Andrea Mariosa spinning at the first corner, unfortunately, as Milan, Tapper and Jordan are now all in the pits. So Milan, Jordan and Tapper all make pit stops at the same time. So Dino Paolini leads in front of Jeff Fournier. But what a dramatic twist in the race. Paolini now in front of Jeff Fournier. Now Fournier, of course, made the pit stop. So as long as he hasn't got too much damage, Fournier should be fine. Paolini had a little bit. Now, I'm getting reports on the YouTube feed, because I was too busy watching the replay, that Jordan crashed again. And Tapper had no rear wing on that one. And there's a car upside down in turn 1, apparently. Or at least there was. I'm not sure if there still is. Is it Fuller again? Well, I'm just trying to keep up with it. Unfortunately, I've lost my train of thought for the moment. I do apologise. I'll try and get back up to date with it as soon as possible. Hoekstra's gone through. Polotsek's gone through. But it looks like everybody is back. I think it's back to order again. I'm going to be interested to see that one in replay later on, I think, as Mike Quint pits in from 3rd position. So apologies on that one. There's so many different directions to look in Supercup. It's hard to know where to look, but thank goodness you all are. So Jeff Fournier leading the way. Dino Paolini is leading the way, but only because of pit stops. Jeff Fournier has made his. Paolini has not. So Milan recovers and rejoins the circuit in 6th position. It's now 5th thanks to Mike Quint's pit stop. But interestingly, Milan is behind Antonio Relanovic. Now, the way he's currently going, Relanovic, I would not be surprised if Relanovic leaves the pits after the pit stops are done in 2nd position. Wouldn't that be sensational? But obviously we've had hold-ups for Milan, Jordan and Douay Tapper. They all had problems on that way into the pits. Tapper is now down to 11th, Jordan now down to 9th, and Borja Milan has recovered from his pit stop in 5th position behind Relanovic. Now Fournier is right behind Paolini. When Paolini pits in, he's going to drop down behind Relanovic, I'm sure of it. As to is the man currently in 3rd position, Sandip Choda. As into the pits comes the other epic racing car of Rob Mason. So Jeff Fournier, coming into the pits pretty much bang on half distance, seems to have been a bit of a masterstroke, because other drivers have hit trouble at exactly the wrong moment. So a really difficult one now. I'm just getting some more updates from the YouTube feed for those who are watching more than one thing on the screen. And that's Matthew Allington. Borja messed up the chicane, allowing Antonio to repass. So that's how Antonio Relanovic passed Milan. And as a result of that little mistake, Milan is struggling now to get himself back up to rhythm. But that's critical, because Relanovic now in 4th position. When Paolini pits, I'm almost certain he is going to drop behind Relanovic and possibly even behind Borja Milan as well. And Gerdner says, 1, 2, 3 again for Gerdner Designs. That's a very good point, actually. It is. Paolini, Fournier and Choda. It's not going to stay that way. Or are you referring, of course, to the fact that when that happens, when we get our pit stops, is it going to be Relanovic, Milan and Fournier? We'll find out. Fournier rubs the barrier on the exit of the swimming pool, I think. That's a little bit of a nervous moment. Paolini's going long on this stint by the look of it. Whoa, big slide from Fournier out of the final turn. And that drops him a little way further back on the Mesurit racing car of Dino Paolini. Just watching him do it again. The back end really flips out as Sandip Choda comes into the pits. And Stefan Rualt has made a move on Douay Tapper, I think. Just trying to double check. I think there's been an incident or two. Johan Lindberg comes into the pits with Sandip Choda. We know that Rob Mason is in the pits. He's been in there for a bit. Borja Milan is back in the pits again. So Milan is back in the pits. I wonder I wonder if Milan has more damage. So Milan is back in the pits. Now that's interesting. He's left the pits again. Now we're just looking at Due Tapper. Somebody's saying somebody's stolen Due Tapper's rear wing. Zeneric Racing. Well, looks to me like it's on. In 11th position. Maybe that's the one that came off earlier. Is that the duelled nose cone Jaguar incident being replayed here in the Super Cup as the wing gone missing? Dino Paolini, half a second in front of Jeff Fournier. Antonio Gralanovic up to third as we expected. Mike Quint is through to fourth. And he's made a pit stop. So too is Tom Vandervoort. Sandip Choda is sixth from Matt Strand, Dennis Jordan, Borja Milan and Stefan Rual. That's your top 10 at the moment. Due Tapper is in 11th position. And Wesley Stefano is out. Now, what happened to Stefano? We'll find out very briefly. The Hinds Motorsport driver's come out of the tunnel. Has he got the line wrong? Well, looks like it's A-OK for the moment. Then he comes down to the braking zone for the Nouvelle chicane. Oh, the car just suddenly stops in a straight line. So clearly something very wrong. Oh, and Rolanovic! Rolanovic is in trouble! Rolanovic is in trouble! His engine's gone! His engine's gone! Rolanovic's engine comes to a standstill out of the Raskas. Oh my goodness! Antonio Rolanovic is out of the race. Now, the big question is, okay, it stopped smoking, but if his engine's in trouble, what about Vandervoort's? Because Vandervoort had the same problem earlier on. But Antonio Gralanovic's engine just got too hot and his race is over. Now, if Vandervoort, who's now in fourth position, well, what if his engine goes? That would promote Sandip Choda onto the podium, potentially. Although Dino Paolini's still got to pit. I reckon he'll rejoin in second place in front of Mike Quinn. Big drama here in Monaco. As Fournier continues to stare at the gearbox of Dino Paolini, Antonio Gralanovic, who had a genuine shot at second place in this one, is out of the race. That is an absolute disaster. Well, what can you say? Poor Antonio Gralanovic. They're clearly just a little bit too aggressive on the setup. The engine got too hot, and that's it. Good night, Vienna. So Jeff Fournier is now on lap 30 of 45 here in the feature race in the GPVWC Super Cup. And what a race it's turning out to be. Due Tapper is having a cracking battle at the moment with Bobka Hoekstra as Matt Strand comes into the pits. So Tapper and Hoekstra are having a good scrap over what is now going to be 9th position when Strand comes in. So Tapper and Hoekstra are still scrapping away. Bobka Hoekstra looks like he's got a run on Tapper. Into the first corner, he's going to go for it. He has to back out of that. That was ambitious from Bobka Hoekstra, and that's put him off quite a long way now. Surely he never thought for a moment that was actually going to work, did he? Well, he decided to go for it, and he's now dropped a good 4 or 5 car lengths off the back. Well, what a dramatic race. We've lost Yayovsky, Fernandez and Batalla on the first lap. That's Gerard Batalla. Dominic Foster went into Tabac and hit the barriers big time at turn on the second lap, sorry. Edgar Ruiz had a broken suspension with a cloud to the barriers at the Monaco tunnel. Alex Siebel got disconnected, unfortunately, on the 9th lap while he was running second. Andrea Mariosa, who was second in the second race yesterday in Monaco, he ended up with a spin at turn 1, and that ended his race. Wesley Stefano just stopped about a lap or so ago. He just literally brought his car to a standstill at the Nouvelle chicane. And Antonio Rolanovic, well, we saw his car smoking for a long, long time. And the engine finally decided, I've had enough of this. This is insanity. And the engine just decided, I'm going somewhere else for the race. Now, they're going to be able to repair it, of course, for the next one. But if his engine has gone, that's a real problem for Tom Vandervoort, because his engine was smoking too. So he's got to be very careful how he looks after his engine for the rest of the race, especially considering he's closing up on Mike Quint. Now, if Quint has a similar difficulty, then he's got problems. Matt Strand is in the pits again. Either that or he's now just leaving the pits, but Matt Strand has been down the pit lane for a long time. I think it's the latter, actually. I think he's been in... Oh, no, sorry. Strand is in the pits, as too is Edouard Batalla. Matt Strand has been in and out of the pits so much in this race. Cygnus Veer asks, is Monaco aggressive on engine wear? Matthew Allington says, evidently yes. And Rella98 says what makes it worse is that strategy was working well for P3. You're stuck in traffic a lot, so it doesn't cool as efficiently. So Gerdner actually writes, that makes it interesting for Vodbull tomorrow. It certainly does, and that's something that Josh Anderson will no doubt be aware of going into tomorrow's broadcast of the Super League. Sadly, it's going to be my first Super League absence of the season, and hopefully my last. I'm doing a bit of a Fernando Alonso tomorrow. I'm disappearing for another street race. Heading over to Pau in France for the Formula 3. As Mike Quint gets a lot of hassle from Tom van der Voort. I'm really nervous for van der Voort as he goes side by side with Quint through Mirabeau. He's keeping his car in there. Up the inside for Lowe's. Quint goes wide. Nudges the barrier. Still Tom van der Voort is in there. Still goes the long way round. They tag. And somehow Quint keeps his car pointing in the right direction as Paolini pits. But van der Voort's through into effectively P3. Amazing racing between those two. They gave each other room. And van der Voort gets through. Mike Quint's not done yet though. That was absolutely epic scrapping between those two. Oh my goodness me. Tom van der Voort pulls off the move of the race without any hesitation at all. So Dino Paolini rejoins in a comfortable second position. Matt Strand needs to let him go, although he doesn't. Paolini lets him through, but he's just going to lap him again very shortly. Van der Voort is now third. Mike Quint is in fourth position. Drake Racing will be crossing everything. Fingers, toes, shoulders, arms, legs, knees, whatever. Because Tom van der Voort is now in a position of third position. Mike Quint is throwing it through turn one. He's determined to get back on terms. The back end slides out big style. In fact, Matthew Allington writes, Quint did exactly what Marquardt tried to do yesterday. That's a very good point, actually. Mike Quint managed to win the first Formula Challenge race yesterday on the last lap when Matthew Marquardt battled with him. And Mike Quint basically did exactly what Marquardt tried to do yesterday, threw it up the inside. He should have learned from that, really, because it didn't work for Marquardt. It ended his chances of victory. Dropped into ninth position, and Mike Quint very nearly did the same thing there. But somehow he kept the car pointing in the right direction. Tom van der Voort, meanwhile, in third place, looking good for the podium, unless the engine overheats. So now we've got Jeff Fournier out in front, 26 seconds ahead of Dino Paolini. This is a good position to be in. He just needs to keep it going. We're on lap 34, and Fournier is comfortable out front, as he has been pretty much for the whole race, other than the pit stop window. Even that little hiccup at turn one about 10 laps ago or so didn't halt his charge. He just kept it together. The car got knocked into a spin. He didn't have damage, so he turned the car back round, and manages to get the car going again. So beautiful car control in that moment from Jeff Fournier, and it almost cost him the win, but he manages to keep himself calm and got it going again. Now, Dino Paolini is second, Van der Voort is third in front of Mike Quint and pulling away now. Sandip Choda is in fifth place. Dennis Jordan is currently in sixth, ahead of Borja Milan and Stefan Rualt, who are having the mother of all scraps for seventh position. And in doing so, they are actually closing in on Dennis Jordan. I think Jordan's had enough tussles for one race. He just wants to bring it home now. But Sandip Choda is only about 3 seconds up the road from this battle. And Dennis Jordan, lapping Edouard Battalla, wants to get away from Milan and Rualt. Rualt's got a good run on Borja Milan, though. Rualt could make the move here into the Nouvelle chicane. He gets alongside. He's going to try and beat it to the braking zone. There's a little bit of a tangle. Rualt's going to try and get up the inside into the chicane, and it's not going to work. So Borja Milan stays in seventh. Rualt stays in eighth. Vodka Hoekstra and Douwe Tapper will have gained some time. Tobias Polotzek is in 11th, by the way. He's the first of the lapped runners. Matt Strand is 12th. Jason Muscat is trying to close up on him in 13th. Edouard Battalla is 14th from Lindbergh. And then the last two are Fuller and Mason. Interesting. We've got one Epic Racing car in the lead, and the other one is dead last at the moment, 17th. But if he just keeps going, Rob Mason, he could well score points. Oh, and that's a mistake from Fournier. The leader, Fournier, makes a mistake out of the swimming pool. That is pretty much the first time Jeff Fournier has put a wheel on all race, but he was very cool about it. He was calm and he was composed. He realised what was happening and went, you know what, just slam on the brakes, get it over the curbs, and that is fine and dandy. I will be all right with that, and he will. Jeff Fournier has just saved his bacon there. That was very, very close indeed. So hopefully that's worth another look. But Jeff Fournier, over the curbs there at the swimming pool, he just suddenly slammed on the brakes and allowed the car to just roll over the top of the sausage curbs. That was close. In fact, he's actually extended his lead somewhat. Well, no. Actually, having said that, Paolini has closed up a few tenths of a second. So that is all that Fournier actually lost in that little mistake. But the gap is 29.8 seconds. So Fournier looking good. He can't be thinking about things like Ayrton Senna in 1988 or Damon Hill in 1996 or Michael Schumacher in the year 2000. Dominant victories, all of them, snatched away by fate. Fournier just needs to keep going. Oh, Jeff, very close to the wall there at Tabac. I think a little bit of lag there, making it look closer than it actually was. But very, very close. And Matthew Allington even writes on the YouTube feed, considering that he got properly delayed at turn 1 about 10 laps ago, Fournier's 30 seconds lead is very impressive. It certainly is. And he's got 49 seconds on Mike Quint in third. What's happened to Van der Voort? What's happened to Van der Voort? Van der Voort's had the same problem! Van der Voort's had the same problem. His engine's gone! Exactly the same way as his teammate. Oh, if you're Drake Racing, you are screaming blue murder right now. Both engines have gone. 2 drivers on the podium at one point. Now game over. What a disaster. Tom Van der Voort, just like his teammate Antonio Granatovic, was set for a podium. And now it's game over. That is so painful. That is so painful. Well, not if you're Mike Quint. If you're in the Cosmo Autosport team, you're elated because you're back on the podium. 3rd position. Sandip Choda is 4th. Dennis Jordan is 5th. And this is now the 5th place battle. Jordan, Milan and Rualt. So they scrap away of a 5th position. Into the top 10 comes Tobias Polocek. And now Rob Mason just needs one more car to retire. And he's in the points. That's what it means. So with Drake Racing's cars both out with engine failure, that is something they're going to need to address in the sprint race. They need to get on top of their cooling issues. And interestingly, Cygnus Veer says, Rudy having 3 laps of advantage over the second guy tomorrow will be impressive. Matthew Allington writes, until his engine blows. Dear, oh dear. Well, that is going to be interesting for Volvo tomorrow. They've got to be mindful of the engine cooling issue. As soon as this race is over, as soon as tonight is over, you can bet that these guys are going to be out on the circuit getting some testing laps in there to try and figure out if they can get on top of cooling. Because that's what's going to win and lose this race tomorrow, I think, with the much more powerful Super League cars, with tyre changes galore, as we know. It's going to be really tough. Now, Borja Milan made a big mistake through Tabac and drops off the back of Dennis Jordan a little bit. Stefan Rualt is looking to pounce, and Bobka Hoekstra is catching all of them. This is going to turn into a 4-way scrap for 5th position any minute now. Fournier leads, Paolini 2nd, Mike Quint 3rd, from Choda in 4th, but Dennis Jordan in 5th position has got Milan, Rualt and Hoekstra breathing down their neck. Douay Tapper's only about 8 seconds down the road as well, so that's not inconceivable that he could influence that one as well. But out in front, it looks good. It looks really good for Epic Racing's Jeff Fournier. Fastest in qualifying, fastest lap of the race, and it looks really, really good at the moment. The man is just absolutely machine-like at the moment as he continues to bang in fast laps. So the racing continues. So let's see what Fournier can do in the last section of the race. Oh, now, there was a lot of smoke coming off the tyre that time. A bit of lock-up perhaps. Just keeping an eye on it. Don't tell me that he's got a problem. No, just looks okay to me. That's probably just tyre smoke. We've had enough mechanical difficulties from this one to last the weekend. Obviously, we had both Antonio Granatovic and Tom Van der Voort in their Drake Racing cars with engine failures while they were on the podium. And Alex Siebels in electrical difficulties, meaning he was booted out, unfortunately. On lap 9, his race came to a premature end while running 2nd as he got disconnected. And apparently, it looks like Stefan Rualt has made the mother of all overtakes on Milan around the outside of Massenet. I didn't see that, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to try and go back and have a look at it. But Stefan Rualt, as Matthew Allington rightfully says, is in P6. I'm going to go and have another look at that. Borja Milan struggling. And now he's got some pressure from Wopke Hoekstra. Wopke Hoekstra going through. Just watching that one as well. I'm winding back quite a way because I want to see this mother of all overtakes that Rualt pulled off on Borja Milan, who is now down to 8th position behind Wopke Hoekstra. But let's have a look at Massenet. I want to double check on that one. It looks like just before the low chicane, of course, or the low hairpin, sorry, as they come through. Massenet, let's have a look. Rualt in front of Milan now, but I'm having to wind back about 2 minutes to make sure this works. Oh, yes, he did. I'm just watching it now. He got up the hill, side by side, and what a move. Round the outside, where the marbles are, but just kept his foot in. Beautiful overtake from Rualt. You're absolutely right, Matthew. I'm glad I caught up and watched it. Now Rualt is going for Dennis Jordan as Lindberg lets them go. Now, Rualt knows he can get that overtake. Mike Quint is working very well at the moment in 3rd position, according to Josh Anderson. His lap times are brilliant. But now Stefan Rualt has sized up a moment on Dennis Jordan. He wants to make the move on him. So Stefan Rualt is not done. He might be able to get into the top 5. Mike Quint has got Sandip Choda 2 seconds behind him. Dennis Jordan and Stefan Rualt are closing up. This is turning into a very intense finish to this motor race. And it might not be done yet either, because Rualt's closing up on Jordan, and as a result, Jordan's having to step on it to close up on Sandip Choda. Jeff Fournier is coming out of the Lowe's hairpin, down towards the Portier, and he's running beautifully. Meanwhile, Stefan Rualt is battling with Dennis Jordan at the Nouvelle Chicane, so that is how far ahead of them Jeff Fournier currently is. So Fournier leads, Paolini's second, he's at turn 1. Mike Quint is in the Raskas at turn 3. Sandip Choda in 4th. Jordan and Rualt are close behind. Wopke Hoekstra is 7th. Borja Milan is dropping back quite rapidly now in 8th position. And in fact, he's the next car that's going to be lapped by our race leader, Jeff Fournier. Douay Tapper has just been lapped by Fournier in 9th position. Tobias Polocek is in 10th from Matt Strand and Jason Muscat, who are still scrapping over 11th, by the way. And they are nose to tail. So if those two come together, Rob Mason might well be in the points. Batalla is 13th, Lindberg is 14th, as Borja Milan has a real hiccup there, trying to get past Johan Lindberg. Mark Fuller is 15th and Rob Mason 16th. Just keep going, Rob, you never know, you might still be in the points yet, as Jeff Fournier is on lap 42 of 45, 4 to go. And Matthew Allington makes a very astute point. If Mike Quint finishes where he is, Cosmo is going to lift itself right up from the bottom of the team standings. So this is going to be a really important 3rd position for Mike Quint and the whole Cosmo Autosport team. They'll be delighted if they finish here. Don't forget, of course, it's the sole Cosmo Autosport car still running, with the retirement of the new boy Thomas Andrea Mariosa, who last night in the GPVWC Academy car finished 2nd on his debut from pole position in the 2nd race. And as soon as the race was over, promptly signed for Downforce Racing for the rest of the year, alongside the Australian Jaden Wright. So Thomas just getting a little bit more playtime at Monaco. He's earned it. So let's see if Jeff Fournier can continue to hold this advantage. Sandip Choda is running scared here in 4th position, because Dennis Jordan, Stefan Rualt and Wopke Hoekstra are right on him. Hoekstra's having a look to try and get past Stefan Rualt. He has to back down. Hoekstra now looks to go right round the outside. That's never going to work, Wopke! Oh, he manages to get himself slot back into position on the road, but Wopke Hoekstra throwing it around. And Edouard Batalla's now out of the race with engine failure. Edouard Batalla's car comes to a stop on the final turn. So Rob Mason is going to be in the points. In fact, everybody from now on is going to be in the points. Edouard Batalla is out on the main straight. So Jeff Fournier continues on in the lead, and he's only got 3 laps to go, including this one. He's 45 seconds clear of Dino Paolini. Whatever you do now, Jeff, just don't hit the wall, and this race is yours. Now, here comes Wopke Hoekstra, again on the back of Stefan Rualt. They slide through to the swimming pool. Choda, Jordan, Rualt, Hoekstra. 4 cars in the fight for 4th position, and Sandip Choda knows he's got pressure from Jordan. This is the only place to be watching at the moment. The 4th place scrap. Choda, Jordan, Ruout, Hoekstra. Nose to tail as they come down the main straight. One of them has a smoking engine by the look of it. Or is that just a lock-up of the tyre? I think it's a lock-up of the tyre, actually. Vopko Hoekstra has another think about Stefan Ruout. The back end steps out for Hoekstra. And somehow, he doesn't spin it into the barrier. Now, Matthew Allington says, I think Battalla will be classified, as it seems that he's completed 90% race distance. That is true, but he won't be in the top 15. So it's going to be Rob Mason who gets the points. But Jeff Fournier on lap 44, the penultimate lap. The next battle on track he's going to come up to is actually this battle. So Fournier can sit and watch this and have a grandstand view on the last lap. Oh, Hoekstra goes into the barrier on the way out of the Poitiers. So he needs to be careful at this point. But this is a great scrap. Choda, Jordan, Ruout, Hoekstra, still nose to tail. And still they scrap for position. And still it's stalemate. Absolutely amazing as they continue to wrestle away. So Fournier out in the lead. Paolini second. Here comes Hoekstra. Side by side with Ruout. He's just clipped the outside barrier though. They loses the back end, up the inside of Ruout again. This is one heck of a battle. And Fournier's coming into the pits. Fournier's in the pits. What's this for? Now, that's baffling. What's Fournier in the pits for? Is he just trying to be conservative here? It's a quick one. Now, why would Jeff Fournier need to make that pit stop? We'll have to ask him about that later, but he's definitely in a very interesting position now. Now, Stefan Ruout has had an accident. Stefan Ruout's had an accident up the hill. Ah, no, fire, fire, fire at the back of Ruout's car. Ruout's car has broken down. Again, engine is a big problem here at Monaco, and there's another proof. Stefan Ruout out of the race with just 2 laps to go, as Fournier is now on his last lap. So Fournier is just bringing the car home. Was that just to keep the engine cool, potentially? Wow. I wonder. Did Matthew Allington asks, did he underfuel? Is it to run 2 tyre compounds? Interesting. Not entirely sure what the situation is, but Fournier needs a quick visit to the pits before he wins it. But he is in control now. Sandip Choda still has Dennis Jordan and Vopko Hoekstra right behind him. But Stefan Ruout is now nowhere to be seen. He's out of the race. So Vopko Hoekstra has one more chance to go for Dennis Jordan on this lap, and he knows it. But Jeff Fournier comes through the swimming pool for the last time. It's been a solid effort from Jeff Fournier. Whatever that last pit stop was for, it doesn't matter now. He laps his teammate on his way home, and it's going to be a formation finish for the Epic Racing team. They're going to come across the line practically together. It's an amazing result. And Jeff Fournier wins race 1. Brilliant job. So Fournier wins it in sensational style. Absolutely terrific job. Rob Mason does come home in 15th position to get the points. Now, Ruout is still going to be classified in the points because he retired with 2 laps to go. So that is going to be it. But Jeff Fournier, an absolutely perfect race. So Fournier wins it as Hoekstra and Jordan are still getting very tight together. Dino Paolini crosses the line for 2nd position. Good control drive from Dino. Mike Quint is going to launch the Cosmo Autosport team forward up the standings. He'll be delighted with that, as will the whole team. Choda is going to hang on for 4th position. Vopko Hoekstra is going to try one last trick on Dennis Jordan. He's only got one corner. Jordan's sliding around all over the place. Vopko's going to try and get him on the line. Here they come. Can Hoekstra get out there? No, he can't. Jordan beats him to the line. Hoekstra is 6th. Milan is 7th. Tobias Polocek is 8th position. Due Tapper comes home in a very frustrated 9th. And Jason Muscat has already finished in 10th position in front of Matt Strand. Stefan Ruout is classified as 12th. Johan Lindberg retired right at the end as well with suspension difficulties. I didn't see why, I'm afraid, or where that happened. But Mark Fuller is 14th. Rob Mason is 15th. But Jeff Fournier has done it in Monaco. An absolutely terrific result. So a great finish, an absolutely brilliant run. And that is what winning does to you. It turns you into a megastar. He drove like an absolute champion today. And what a performance. Mike Quinn, yes, on team radio, yes. Absolutely terrific. Johan Lindberg has realised why he retired. He got a freeze lag, so that's why he was out. Well, a quick pause then in proceedings as we wait for the sprint race. But Jeff Fournier takes the flag in Monaco from Dino Paolini and Mike Quinn. Great racing and a great result.
Attention grid, will all non
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the sprint race here in the GPVWC Super Cup. And what an amazing first race we had in the feature race with Jeffrey Fournier clearing off and checking out into the distance ahead of Dino Paolini and Mike Quint. The reverse grid draw number is P7, which means that Borja Milan will start from pole position for the sprint race. And that's going to be very interesting with Vodko Hoekstra lining up alongside him on the starting grid. Dennis Jordan, Sandip Choda, Mike Quint, Dino Paolini and Jeff Fournier giving chase. There's going to be a few drivers that will be trying to work their way through the field from the back as well, of course. So this one is going to be a pretty intense fight. Plenty of drivers wanting to make their stake for victory in this one. And according to my calculations, looks to me as though we've only got 21 cars on the starting grid for this one. That is very interesting. So 21 cars make their way around on the rolling lap. Borja Milan lines up in pole position for this one. Thanks to the reverse grid pole, the TG Racing driver in first. Wopke Hoekstra in the Mazurek Racing car is second on the starting grid. The Evolution Motorsport driver, Dennis Jordan, hoping he can get that podium this time from third position. Hinz Motorsport's Sandip Choda, very strong in race 1. He starts where he finished in P4. Mike Quint in the Cosmo Motorsport starts in P5. From Dino Paolini, second in race 1. Where will he be in race 2 in the second of the Mazurek Racing cars? Jeff Fournier, dominant in race 1. What can he do in race 2 in the Epic Racing car? Tobias Polotzek is next in the Evolution Motorsport machine in 8th place. Then Douay Tapper and Jason Muscat together in the Zederick Racing cars in 9th and 10th. Matt Strand is next in the Satellite Racing team with the first of the Deltex, Stefan Rualt, in 12th position. Johan Lindberg is there with him in P13. And Mark Fuller in the ST Racing car lines up in 14th position. Rob Mason will start from 15th position in the Epic Racing car. 16th is Edward Battalla in the Racing Team Schroten car. Keep an eye on the Drake Racing cars of Tom van der Voort and Antonio Preladovic. They will start together on row 9. Engine failure for both of them in race 1. What will they do in race 2? Can they make it to the finish this time with 26 laps? They should do, but it's not guaranteed. Thomas Andrea Mariosa in the Cosmo Motorsport starts 19th. Gerard Battalla starts in 20th in the Racing Team Schroten car. And Carlos Fernandez in the Multiforce GP car is the 21st and last car in the lineup. Now that is very interesting because we've definitely lost a few. So I'll just double check who we haven't got after that first race. We seem to have lost Dominic Foster. He's not taking up his position on the starting grid again. Alex Siebel has not come back, nor has Edgar Ruiz. So several drivers opting not to take up the restart. That is interesting. There's not much we can do about it now as we're getting ourselves ready for the action. The lights come on here at Monte Carlo. Milan on the left, Hoekstra on the right. Get ready, gents. And we're racing at Monaco again. Good start from Milan. Hoekstra's got a good one to slot in behind him. He's got Dennis Jordan to his right. He decides to hang back, and as we go through for the first time, looks like everybody's going to get through cleanly. Have we got a non-incident first corner? We have! Everybody's through cleanly. Absolutely terrific start. That's the first clean start for GPVWC at Monaco this year. But Milan leads it. Hoekstra second from Jordan, Choda, Quint, Fournier, Paolini and Tapper. So everybody gets through. Scott clear this time, and up the inside. That's a big move from Rob Mason to get onto the inside of Fuller. They're going to be side by side. Fuller holds the inside line at lows. Mason's trying to keep it right round the outside and tuck in for the right-hander, and he's got there. He bangs the wall on the exit, though. So too does Fuller. And on the inside of both of them comes Johan Lindberg. Lindberg spins! Lindberg spins! And we've got trouble at Portier. We've got real trouble at Portier now. Tom van der Voort's caught up in it, so too is Mark Fuller. Mark Fuller reverses into van der Voort's car. Goodness me, this is messy. Carlos Fernandez in 17th has got away with it, so too is Thomas Andrea Mariosa. And Johan Lindberg in more trouble. Lindberg in more trouble at the end of the straight. And I think that could be Lindberg's race over. It is. Lindberg is out. Just watching him again on the replay right behind Thomas Andrea Mariosa. He came out of the tunnel. The back end came out wide. He makes the move on Andrea Mariosa. The back end steps out. He goes straight into the side of Andrea Mariosa's car. And his race is over. Now, Tom van der Voort has got going again. So too is Carlos Fernandez and Mark Fuller. But it's a messy first lap. Halfway round the lap this time. At least it's not a turn one. But Borja Milan leads the race. Wopke Hoekstra in second from Dennis Jordan. Fournier makes the move on Choda. Good overtake there. And Mike Quint gets through as well. So Mike Quint up to 5th position, past Choda as well. So the rest of the field still working its way through the Lowe's hairpin, very much in formation. A good start from Rob Mason, he's now up to P13. Rolanovic is working through the field quickly, he's up to 15th position. But his teammate Van der Voort is down in 19th with all sorts of difficulties. Borja Milan leads it, Wopke Hoekstra second. Now Milan is composed enough that he might not lose this lead now out in front. He just needs to keep this going. So Fournier in 4th position. Quint is 5th. From 4th place, if Fournier is smart, he could win the race here. He's only 3 seconds behind Borja Milan. And in terms of his position on the racetrack, all it takes is a good set of composure. And he could be a battler for the victory. He can still win this. Milan leads it. Bobka Hoekstra second, Dennis Jordan is third, Fournier in a brilliant fourth, having started P7. Quint is fifth, Choda sixth, Paolini seventh from Douay Tapper, Tobias Polotzik and Jason Muscat. Strand, Ruel, Mason, Ed Batalla, Rolanovic, Gerard Batalla, Andrea Mariosa, Fuller, Van der Voort and Fernandez. So just 20 drivers still running in the second race here. And Borja Milan is taking pressure from Bobka Hoekstra already. Really close battles between these two in the early stages here. Matthew Allington has reminded us that for those who don't know, Milan and Hoekstra had an insane fight for the championship in the Atlantic Series last year. It went down to the wire with both drivers running well, and now that battle is replaying itself here at Monaco in the Supercup. Brilliant battles between them. I think we've had an off somewhere at turn one. I think Mark Fuller has gone to the back of the field behind Carlos Fernandez. I think he made a mistake. Yes, he did. Spun off at turn one. So Fuller rejoins at the back of the field. But Borja Milan versus Bobka Hoekstra. Oh, Ed Batalla's out. Ed Batalla is out of the race. Just watching on the replay, Ed Batalla running behind Mason. Oh, he loses the back end, and somehow everybody avoids him. But Ed Batalla spinning on the way down to the Nouvelle chicane, and his race is over, I'm afraid. So Milan, Hoekstra, Jordan is being caught by Fournier, by the way. So Dennis Jordan is third, but Jeff Fournier closing up. They come out of the Casino Square. And Fournier comes down to the Mirabeau hairpin, now down through Lowe's. Very close indeed as Bobka Hoekstra continues to put pressure on Borja Milan. Now Sandip Choda is playing the role of Jarno Trulli in this race in sixth position. He is holding up the field. Dino Paolini, Douay Tapper, Polotzik, Muscat, Strand, Rualt and Mason. It goes well. Rualt from 6th down to 12th. Mason is being caught by Antonio Gralanovic. And Bobka Hoekstra. Bobka Hoekstra is in trouble. Bobka Hoekstra is missing his rear wing. He spins it, going into Tabac. And there's nowhere for Mike Quint to go. They're both out of it. Surely that's game over. And Dino Paolini, his teammate, is in there as well. It's carnage. Also in there is Polotzik. Muscat gets involved. That's what happens. Oh, there's more contact. Milanovic has gone in. What an absolute disaster. Hoekstra's race is over. Polotzik is out as well. Now, what happened? I'm just going to do a replay to figure out how that actually came a cropper. But it looked to me as though Hoekstra, going for the lead, made the mistake on the exit of the Nouvelle chicane. Borja Milan's in front. Hoekstra just clips the barrier on the inside of the chicane, loses his rear wing, desperately trying to get his car back to the pits. Fournier uses that opportunity to get past Jordan as well, by the way. But Mike Quint is next through. He's got nowhere to go. He goes into Hoekstra. And at the same time, Sandip Choda, did he make it through? Well, only just. So too did Douay Tapper and Matt Strand. Rualt gets through okay, but Dino Paolini does not. Muscat got held up briefly, but then the next car through is the next car through is Mason, who just avoids it. Antonio Gralanovic goes straight in, and unfortunately in there as well goes, I think that's Ed Batalla. No, it must be Gerard Batalla, who was in there as well. So Ed Batalla out, Lindbergh out, Hoekstra out, Polotzik out. Disastrous race for them. Now, Milan is in first position, but thanks to Fournier taking that opportunistic moment, he makes a very good opportunistic moment out of it. Now, what's happened to Tapper? I think he's made the move on Matt Strand. So let's, yes, he has. Douay Tapper has gone up into sixth position. So very close indeed. Now, difficult for us to keep an eye on this one. Jason Muscat's in the pit, so obviously he sustained damage in that little moment. But Borja Milan is leading. Now, the important factor of that accident is that Jeff Fournier was able to dodge the carnage. Not only did he dodge it, but he actually used the spin from Bobka Hoekstra. He uses that spin to gain a little bit of ground. He had more momentum. He sweeps past Dennis Jordan and moved up into second position. Now it's him versus Borja Milan for the victory. So Fournier could very easily win both races here at Monaco. Basically, he's just got to sit on the back of Borja Milan and make him do all the... 17 cars remain. This is going to be absolutely incredible. Well, it's a very interesting problem for the drivers. It looks as though we've got Wopke Hoekstra into the YouTube feed. He's very angry about what happened. Quint had nowhere to go and he accepts that, but there were a couple of other drivers who hit him. He's complaining they didn't hit the brakes and they should have done. I think he's got every reason to be aggrieved. Here comes Douay Tapper to try and have a go at Sandeep Choda. Mike Quint has already got by him, but now Douay Tapper wants to get the same move done, and he's absolutely on it at the moment, it has to be said. Matt Strand has managed to get past Stefan Rualt. So Rualt's had an incident somewhere and rejoined in front of Dino Paolini. Mason is 10th. Andrea Mariosa is 11th. Fernandez 12th. Fuller, Gerard Battalla. Antonio Hranovic has kept it going and is now 15th. Muscat is 16th. And Tom van der Voort is 17th. It's a nightmare weekend for Drake Racing in the end. They had a very aggressive strategy on the engine. Just reading what... Wopke Hoekstra has to say about his weekend. This race was full of nonsense anyways. He had a puncture in race 1. He didn't hit anything, and then suddenly his right rear popped. And then apparently he clipped the inside of the chicane. He took the same line as always, but suddenly, boom. Unfortunately, in sim racing, it does happen occasionally. It doesn't make it any less painful when it does. And Tapper has made the move on Sandeep Choda. He has made the move on Choda, so now Douay Tapper is in 5th position. This is a much better run for him. And now he's closing up on Mike Quint. So there is a chance. Stefan Rualt is trying to get away from Dino Paolini, and that looks to be working for the moment. Thomas Andrea Mariosa has got Carlos Fernandez closing up on him. Mark Fuller, Gerard Battalla, Antonio Hranovic, Jason Muscat, and the lapped Tom van der Voort are the only cars remaining in the race now. But Borja Milan leads it by 2 seconds to Jeff Fournier. Jeff's got time to do this. He doesn't need to panic just yet. It's a 26 lap race and we're on lap 8. So Fournier has got time. This is absolutely fantastic work so far. And Douay Tapper alongside Mike Quint and gets the move at the New House chicane. Brilliant work this from Douay Tapper. Absolutely brilliant. Gonna watch that one back again on replay. That is absolutely magnificent from Douay Tapper. Tapper just sizes him up through the tunnel, goes for the move, absolute conviction. He even squeezes Quint across a little bit to make sure he is never coming back at him. That was an amazing overtake from Douay Tapper, and that puts him into P4. So, Borja Milan now 1.9 ahead of Jeff Fournier. So Fournier closing up. Dennis Jordan is 3rd. Douay Tapper now 4th in front of Mike Quint, Sandeep Choda, Matt Strand, Stefan Rualt, Dino Paolini, and Rob Mason. So as the rest of the field do their best to just keep it going. Several cars in the wars. Hranovic is in 15th. Tom van der Voort is 17th. I guess at this point now, they're just racing for points. They're hoping that there's going to be a couple of other cars out there that go off the road. And considering what's happened in this race meeting so far, that's not necessarily impossible. As Carlos Fernandez makes the move on Thomas Andrea Mariosa out of the final turn. So Fernandez moves up to 11th. Andrea Mariosa spins at turn 1, exactly as he did in race 1. But this time he gets it going before the field comes towards him. So there's not going to be a repeat of that. Now Mike Quint has got Sandeep Choda breathing down his neck. Has Mike Quint got damage? Because he's already dealt with Sandeep Choda. The back end steps out big time from Mike Quint. How did he save that? That is one of the most incredible saves I've ever seen at Monaco. Goodness me! And that has held him up, of course, because now Choda, Strand and Rualt are right underneath him. Dino Paolini not far away either. Oh, problems for Hranovic and Battalla. Into the Lowe's hairpin. Now, Battalla was on the back of Fuller, trying to make a move to get past him. But then Hranovic tried to make a move on Battalla. He dives up the inside and they come together in the Mirabeau. Hranovic gets through. Battalla just says, don't even think about it, and he rams him off. Gerard Battalla deliberately goes into the back of Antonio Hranovic in retaliation for the move at Mirabeau, and I'm afraid, sorry Gerard, but that is not sportsmanlike. There's no doubt in my mind at all that was deliberate. Gerard Battaglia, a proper rage quit there, I'm afraid to say. Wow, that was Absolutely awful. So, that's a difficult position to be in, but I have a feeling that he's not going to be able to continue on in the next round of the championship as Antonio Milanovic comes into the pits. The last 2 cars in this motor race are now both Drake Racing cars, but one of them is in the points, so they may as well just keep going. Points are points at the end of the day. Borja Milan now leads Fournier by 1.1 seconds. So Fournier still chasing him down. There's time to do this, Jeff. Don't panic. It's only lap 11. There's 26 of these. So Matthew Allington confirms what we thought about that one. Battalla's going to get a race ban if it was deliberate. And to my mind, I looked at it again. I can't really imagine that was an accident. So Mike Quint now in 5th position. Sandip Choda right on his tail. Stranded 7th. Rualt 8th. Polani 9th. So Mike Quint in 5th position. Somehow he's able to hold on to this position as Matt Strand goes into the back of Sandip Choda. And that's it. Game over. Matt Strand has nowhere to go but into the back of Choda. Choda continues without too much damage. But Matt Strand is out. So easy to do. I'm just going to watch it again. It's down to the braking zone for the Mirabeau. Strand goes on to the inside line of Choda, but he hasn't quite got further enough across. If he got a little bit further to the right, he would have made the move, and it would have been clean, and he would have made it successfully. But he just clips the rear wheel of Sandip Choda's car, and they both go off the road. But incredibly, somehow, Sandip Choda does not sustain too much damage and keeps the car racing. Strand, however, is out. Wow. Attrition in Monaco. Now, Milan has got Fournier right underneath him. And as a result of Strand retiring, every single driver in the race now is going to score points. But the question is this going to be a Monaco 96 where only 3 or 4 cars makes it home? And I love Zederic Rake's comment there on the YouTube stream. He basically makes a reference to the 1988 Monaco Grand Prix. Bang goes Alio. Very similar incident there to what happened. Pretty much exactly the same way as well. So Milan has got Jeffrey Fournier right underneath him. They lap Fuller. And Fournier's got to time this right if he's going to get past Borja Milan. He doesn't need to lead every lap of this motor race, Fournier. He only needs to lead the last one. So maybe it's just worth sitting behind Borja Milan and let him make the mistake. Although Milan has already made the mistake. Fournier's going to go for it. Up the outside. Fournier's going to try and take it right round Massenet and then cut back for Casino Square. What a battle! Fournier's going to go for it. Borja Milan holds it through the Mirabeau. Down to the Grand Hotel hairpin. I still always refer to it as those hairpin. I'm old school. Through the right-hander. And down to the Portier. Out through the tunnel. What a battle. And there's a similar one going on for 5th position. Mike Quint, Stefan Rualt and Dino Paolini. Rualt is alongside Quint. He's going to stick it to the outside line. Rualt gets through and holds it. What a move from Stefan Rualt. And Mike Quint's losing the car. Dino Paolini catches him. Mike Quint's all over the shop at the moment. And that's going to back him into Paolini, Choda and Mason. Well, Choda is the back of the queue. It's a lap car behind them. That's Antonio Milanovic. But meanwhile, Fournier's got to move on. Milan lined up. He's going to come right round the outside. Milan loses the back end. Oh, my word. This is even closer than Senna and Mansell in 92. The difference being, these two aren't frightened of nudging the wall. Quint is doing everything he can to keep Dino Paolini behind him. Sandip Choda right there as well. Rualt, Quint, Paolini and Choda. Great battle for 5th position. But Borja Milan is doing everything he can to keep Jeff Fournier behind him. Fournier definitely the faster driver, but can he get through? Here we go, through the Mirabeau. Down to the Grand Station Hotel. And Van der Voort's out. Van der Voort is out with suspension failure. What happened there? He went through the first corner, I believe, or is it down at the first corner? He's lost his front nose cone at the last turn. He's gone straight on at turn 1 and gone, sod this, we'll get a point, whatever, I'm out. So he gives it up. Tom Van der Voort says, this is pointless. I'm not here to finish last. So Antonio Relanovic is now 14th and last position as Thomas Andrea Mariosa comes together with Jason Muscat. Now, what happened there at the Nouvelle Chicane? Andrea Mariosa was in front of Muscat. I'm sorry if I miss any incidents out on the circuit. I just want to see what happened between Andrea Mariosa and Muscat. Down to the Nouvelle Chicane. Muscat. Oh, Andrea Mariosa goes off. So it was his mistake. He just overshoots the chicane and lets them back through. And lets Jason Muscat get by. So Borja Milan has got Fournier right underneath him. Fournier's got a very strong first corner. He gets through Sandervoort beautifully. Now up the hill. Through to Massenet. And again, Fournier's really aggressive through here. Through Casino Square. Down the hill. Fournier having a look. Milan defending like crazy. This is more like a karting line than it is a more than a Super Cup line. Goes through the hairpin at Grand Station. Into the right. Through to the Portier and into the tunnel once again. Now Mike Quint seems to have lost ground. He's dropped behind Dino Paolini. There's a rear wing there as well. That's Rob Mason's rear wing. Rob Mason in the pits. So Rob Mason has had an off there. Portier lost the front wing and the rear wing. It's a Formula Ford he's driving now. So they're going to have to get that repaired, but he can still be top 10 if he keeps the car going. Borja Milan in front of Jeff Fournier, but the gap is only half a second. Fournier continuing to pressure him. Jordan is third. Douay Tapper in fourth. Rualt is fifth from Paolini, Quint, Choda. Fernandez is ninth. Mason exits the pits with a fully repaired car in 10th position in front of Muscat, Fuller, Andrea Mariosa and Relanovic. Just 14 cars left, and here comes Fournier. He has a go into Sandervoort. Milan slides wide. This is brilliant. Now Muscat has got past Mason on the exit of the pit, so he's up to 10th place now, Jason Muscat. But Borja Milan's got Fournier all over the back of him. He can't make a mistake. Down the back straight. I wasn't aware that was a Liam Jenkins quote. I apologise. I'm a Formula Ford man. I am going to be at the Formula Ford Festival at the end of the year, so I've got a big love for it. Andrea Mariosa is into the pits, I'm guessing because he got damage into the final hairpin. And yes, I think he's got some kind of suspension damage. He comes straight out of the pits again. And he rejoins in 14th. Here is Milan, still defending from Jeff Fournier. Fournier swarming all over the back of Borja Milan, trying to get through. 14 still running. Milan, Fournier, Jordan, Tapper, Rual, Paolini, Quint, Choda, Fernandez, Muscat, Mason, Fuller, Relanovic and Andrea Mariosa. Fournier again tightens up in the Rascasse. Up to Virage and Toninos. Out of the final turn. They're equal at the moment, these two. Carlos Fernandez has got past Sandip Choda. What's happened to Choda? He's lost his front wing. Oh, he's come together with Relanovic. Choda's come together with Relanovic. Relanovic barging Sandip Choda out of the way to get through. And Choda breaking his front wing on the way back through. So, big problem says Fournier's gone through. Fournier's gone through past Milan. He's done him. Now, can Milan come back at him? No, I think Fournier's got the move done. It was a great exit out of Sandervoort up the hill. And on the run to Massenet, he kept his foot in. Kept it round the outside. Milan hesitated on the inside, and Fournier just ran right round the outside and said, thank you very much, I'll take the lead in a Casino Square. Jeff Fournier, what a move. What a sensational overtake. As Relanovic comes into the pits for the 787th time in this race. Well, certainly in this meeting, I should say. Fournier in the lead, Milan in second, Jordan third from Tapper, Rualt, Paolini, Quint, Fernandez, Choda, Muscat, Mason Fuller, Relanovic and Andrea Mariosa. James Kirk is impressed. Excellent overtake indeed on the YouTube feed. That's one of the best I've seen in GPVWC. As Sandip Choda comes into the pits, Relanovic and Andrea Mariosa exit it. But they're both going to get points if they just keep going. So Fournier leads the way here, and he's already starting to stretch out a gap over Borja Milan. But this time, the pressure is on him to make a mistake. Oh, he nudges the wall! Fournier, I'm fairly sure that wasn't lag. I'm sure Fournier nudged the wall on the way up the hill. He's got to be so careful now, Jeff Fournier. Just watching it again. Yes, he did clout the wall on the inside. Now, if he's got any kind of damage at all, Borja Milan is going to come for him. Oh my goodness, is this Monaco Supercup meeting going to take another big twist, or can Fournier hang on? This is going to be so tough. This is going to be so tense. But Fournier has got 9/10 of a second on Borja Milan. He's just got to keep it going. Dennis Jordan in 3rd position. Due Tapper in 4th. Rualt is 5th from Paolini, Quint, Fernandez, Muscat and Mason. Now the closest battle on the track is that for the lead at the moment. Because everybody else seems to have pretty much settled each other out into position, and they're just kind of keeping the car on the racetrack. As into the pits, who is that making a pit stop? I think that is that Mason back in again? No, that's one of the top 7, I think. We've had someone else come into the pits. I'm trying to figure out who it was that got out of the way. Fournier leading, Milan 2nd. Well, Jordan has got Muscat up the road. Maybe he was just moving off the racing line. I apologise. So Fournier. Matthew Allington says, Fournier's sliding a lot. Does he have suspension damage? I think he might do. Because he did clip the wall pretty hard on the way up the hill to Massenet on the last lap. So maybe he has got some kind of suspension difficulties. And of course, pushing the car hard to get away from Borja Milan is only going to make that tougher to drive. But if Fournier can do it, he'll be a double winner. Oh, careful into the Nouvelle chicane, Jeff. He makes it look so easy. Milan in 2nd. Definitely going well. Now, Fournier's lap times. What are they doing at the moment? Well, his fastest lap is a 1:17.1.165. That was on lap 8. He's in the 1:17s, although the last couple of laps he did a 1:18. I'm guessing that was to try and get past Borja Milan, but he did strike the wall on that last lap as well. So that might have been where the 1:18 came from. He comes through this time by. Milan's in the 1:18, in the low 1:18s. Fournier's just done a 1:17.2 again, so that's close to his fastest lap of the race. So maybe Fournier isn't going to be too badly affected. Maybe the way that it's been damaged. Oh, as he goes through Casino Square, the back end slides out big time. Maybe he can just hang on to this for the last part of the race. He's getting away from Milan still. Quite impressed by how quickly, actually. Jordan in 3rd, Tapper 4th. Rualt is trying to lap Fuller. Fuller gets out of the way. Dino Paolini in 6th, not too far behind him. Mike Quint is 7th, Fernandez 8th, Muscat 9th. Mason is 10th, from Sandip Choda down in 11th. Fuller is 12th, Rolanovic 13th. Andrea Mariosa is there in 14th position. And then we have the 7 retirements from this race. Tom van der Voort, Mans Strand, Gerard Patala, Tobias Polotsek, Bobka Hoekstra, Ed Patala and Johan Lindberg to go with the 5 non-starters in this race, don't forget. Because to my calculations, there were 5 non-starters from the race because we didn't have Alex Siebel, Edgar Ruiz or Dominic Foster in that last encounter. I'm trying to think who else didn't take up the restart. I'm fairly sure we've also lost a couple of others. But a very interesting start to proceedings then. So Jeff Fournier continues to lead. Having just done a 1:17.7. That's good enough to still be ahead of Milan. I think he's carted the barrier again there. So Fournier pushing hard. He wants to make this 2 wins out of 2. But he's giving himself a very hard time to get there. Matthew Allington so close to billing it there. He very much was. Well, Allington also writes he isn't crabbing it, so it doesn't seem like he has any severe damage. But Fournier definitely wanted to demonstrate he is the man to beat in Super Cup at the moment. The way he power slides through the first apex of the Nouvelle chicane and then just collects it together. I'll tell you what, if GPVWC ever did a rallycross championship, Fournier would be the Sebastian Loeb of it. He's absolutely on it. Fournier just relishing the chance to drive out front and dominate again here. 2.3 seconds clear of Borja Milan. Fournier taking his first win last time out at the Red Bull Ring. And now he is the class act here at Monaco. I'll tell you what, if he hasn't got a contract for 2018, I'm signing him up now. What a driver. Milan in 2nd. Jordan still 3rd. He's 11 seconds off the pace of these guys as we go into lap 22 of 26. 5 to go. Tapper 4th, Rualt 5th, Paolini 6th, Mike Quint is 7th for Fernandez, Muscat, Mason, Choda, Fuller, Relanovic and Andrea Mijariosa. And to be honest, I think the most exciting part of the race has ended because any other driver now on the racetrack of the last 14 is just going to be hanging it together. Fournier very nearly spun it though out of 48. Matthew Allington jostles back to me. Give me a break. I can rally competently with a keyboard, let alone a wheel. To be fair, rallying is something I need to work on my sim racing. I have just managed to get hold of virtual rallycross for the first R-Factor. And I'm fairly sure Dirt 4 is coming onto my gaming PC very shortly. So I'll let you know on that one. Fournier, Milan and Jordan is your top 3. Mind you, in terms of rallying, I still have possession of the old Rally Championship from 1999, the British Rally Championship season, with the Ordnance Survey maps to guide you round. But that still works incredibly on my gaming PC. I'm quite impressed. Fournier goes through. I thought for a moment there he was crashing, as in not crashing against the barrier, as in the game was crashing for him. We've got some serious lag going on my screen, unfortunately. But it looks to me as though Fournier is still okay. So Fournier is still leading. The last thing he wants now is to do a Rudy Van Buren at Russia. Especially now that he's managed to extend the lead over Borja Milan to 4.5 seconds. How has he done that? So Satellite Racing writes on YouTube, if anybody here talks to Mike Quint, somebody tell him to reel it back a bit. Interesting. I have a feeling that somebody isn't particularly happy with Mike Quint. Borja Milan in second, 4.5 seconds back on Jeff Fournier. Dennis Jordan in third, Tapper is fourth, Rualt is fifth, Paolini in sixth. Mike Quint's hit the wall! Mike Quint's hit the wall at turn 1. So Mike Quint has gone off at Saint-Devote. Now, that's a big problem as his car now struggles around the circuit. He'll be crabbing like crazy depending on what kind of damage he's sustained. Oh, he went over the sausage curbs at turn 1. He cut it too deep. And he's caused his own damage there. So now Mike Quint has been passed by Fernandez. Fernandez goes into P7 and Quint loses the car on the way down to the Mirabeau. But Mike Quint is desperately trying to get the car back again, because if he can bring it into the pits, he can basically, he's just basically pinballing it round the Lowe's hairpin to stop Jeff Fournier from hitting him. But if he can just bring it back to the pits, he'll score points, whatever happens. So Mike Quint now doing just that. Muscat's going to get past him. Borja Milan is about to lap him. And look, he waits right on the inside line, Mike Quint. That's the very sportsmanly thing to do. So Mike Quint really in trouble as he tries to bring the car back to the pits. He goes over the Nouvelle chicane. Not really surprising. Jason Muscat is about to pass him for 8th position. I'm watching him still at the moment because there really isn't too much more to keep an eye on at the moment. Fournier very safe in the lead at present. Milan in 2nd place. Jordan 3rd from Tapper, Rualt, Paolini, Fernandez and Jason Muscat. So Mike Quint is going to bring the car into the pits and Rob Mason is going to move into the 9th position spot. And Sandit Choda will be happy because he'll go back into the top 10. So Mike Quint recovers. He will probably drop to 12th position, I would think, with the damage he's got. Mark Fuller might just about be able to get past him as well. But Jeff Fournier is on lap 25 of 26. Lights the flag victory in the first race from Jeff Fournier. Brilliant results and an absolutely cracking performance in race 1. But here in race 2, he's been absolutely exceptional. He started P7. He used the attrition around him to gain good ground. And a little bit of a wobble for Dennis Jordan as he hesitated with Wopke Hoystra spinning in front of him. He made his move, got into 2nd position, and ever since then, it's been a race of supreme dominance from Jeff Fournier as he fought his way onto the back of Borja Milan, waited for the perfect moment, got the perfect moment, and now has made his way through without too much hesitation at all. Now, Antonio Granovic is running around behind Borja Milan. Milan has lapped him, but Granovic is just going to spend the last lap and a half or so glued to the back of Milan's rear wing by the look of things. While Jeff Fournier goes into the final lap here at Monaco. And there's not many drivers who can say they've got a clean sweep. Now, it looked to me as though Zederick Racing has picked up on the fact that Borja Milan spun at the chicane, so he's lost a bit of time, but he hasn't lost the place. So thank goodness for that for Borja Milan. That's a nice getaway. So I apologise I didn't pick it up, but Milan is still there in second position. He just needs to keep it together. He's still got 6 seconds on Dennis Jordan. He can't really afford to throw it away. Just keep it running on the racetrack, Borja. Second place is very admirable here at Monaco. But what a sensational race this is going to finish up as. An absolutely brilliant weekend for Jeff Fournier. Pole position, fastest lap, and 2 race wins from 7th on the grid at Monaco in race 2 for Jeff Fournier is pretty exceptional. Massive slide at Massenet on the last lap, correct, from Allington, but he's got time in his pocket. And Jeff Fournier is going to win this one in style. He took his first win of the year at Epic Racing at the Red Bull Ring last time out. He's going to be a double winner here at Monaco. The championship is very much game on as out of the final turn comes Jeff Fournier down the straight, and he's done it. He's got them both. Jeff Fournier wins the sprint race as he won the feature race. Fournier, the clean sweep at Monaco. That is glorious. Milan is second. Dennis Jordan will be a very good third. Douay Tapper, great feisty drive from him to finish up in P4. He'll be quite happy with that, I'm sure. Stefan Ruaut is 5th. Or is he? Dino Paolini is not far behind him now. And he's got Sandip Choda, who he's just lapped. Careful, Stefan. He will now be P5. Dino Paolini, in 6th position. And Carlos Fernandez, just by staying out there, will be a very solid 7th place for the Multiforce GP team. Good run from him. Zederick Racing's Jason Muscat makes it 2 finishes in the top 10 for the team in 8th position. Rob Mason ends a brilliant day for Epic Racing in 9th. And Sandip Choda brings the Hinds Motorsport car in 10th position. More points for them. Mike Quint is 11th in the final reckoning from Mark Fuller. Renanovic comes home 13th. Andrea Mariosa scores points in 2 championships in as many days by finishing 14th in the second race. And the final points finisher, as far as I can see, technically is Tom van der Voort, although he's not going to be classified as a race finisher because he didn't complete the full race distance. So I'm not sure what that means, but Jeff Fournier, as Chris Shepherd writes, a lesson was just served. Too right. Matthew Allington also writes, dominant in domination, drifting, or both. Everything, says Zederick Racing. Truly superb from Jeff Fournier. And Mike Quint writes at the end of his race, every single part of my car was damaged. Antonio Relanovic writes, you think you had it hard? I did 3 pit stops. So not quite 787 as I stated. What an absolutely superb race weekend. And Jeff Fournier makes it 2 races. So hopefully drivers will be waiting on the Discord broadcast room, ready to speak to us after some fantastic racing in the Super Cup. And that is my GPVWC week pretty much, other than the interviews done and dusted for this week. I would have loved to be there for Super League as usual tomorrow, but I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Josh Anderson to do that tomorrow. I'm sure he'll blow a gasket, as he always does. He'll have an absolutely cracking race meeting for you tomorrow. And what we really found out here today is that engines are definitely going to be a premium. Vodbull Racing need to keep an eye on that tomorrow. If they have a great run, then okay. Being fast over 1 lap is one thing, but if they push their engines too hard in the process, then that's going to be an open opportunity for everybody else. So hopefully we'll be able to get a couple of drivers into the interview room, and we'll hopefully be able to get a couple of drivers to speak to. I'd love to be able to speak, first of all, to Jeff Fournier, who obviously had an absolutely cracking race and 2 superb performances. I wouldn't be too surprised if we speak to team boss Chris Shepherd either, but it's been a truly sensational performance. First of all, though, let's talk to a man who's been in the wars in more ways than one in this race, Mike Quint, who had a solid run to the podium in race 1, and then it all went a bit kamikaze in race 2, didn't it, Mike? But let's talk about race 1. That was a really solid run to the podium.
Yeah, it was a really good race. I couldn't believe it when I crossed the finish line. It's just starting from P23, I didn't think even top 10 was possible. Got very lucky, strategy was really good, pace was good, so there's that.
And to go past 20 cars, and obviously the Cosmo Motorsport team were at the bottom of the table coming into this meeting, so 3rd position, that shoots you up several places.
Yeah, it does, and I was just an emergency driver, so I just wanted to get some points. But P3, of course, is an amazing result. Yeah, in
Well,
race 2, I think you knew I had a lot of damage.
yeah, you mentioned it obviously on the stream straight after the race that there were all sorts of problems with the car. But I mean, you obviously were able to use the experience you got from Formula Challenge last night, you know, getting the win in the first race yesterday. That must have really helped coming into this one to know what to expect.
Yeah, it did. It helped a lot to me because the Supercup car is different, but it's not a lot different. So really, you can just take the corners the same, take the gears the same, and you just drive on with it.
Okay, well, congratulations on the podium in the race one. Condolences for race two, but no doubt in Canada, we'll see the Mike Quint we know back up to his best. Good job.
Thank you.
So good to speak to Mike Quint there after a podium finish today and his race one victory, obviously in Formula Challenge yesterday. Hopefully there's a couple more drivers to speak to, but well, I don't think we can really dictate driver of the day to anybody other than Jeff Fournier. He has been absolutely astonishing in today's racing. Pole position, fastest lap and race win in the first race, and then from 7th position to make his way up through the field in the early stages. What an absolutely astonishing performance. You have to say, Drake Racing, commiserations to them. Their race one strategy was looking so good until their engine seized. And then, of course, race two, well, once you're down the back of the order, it's very easy to get into scrapes and japes. It's a really difficult position to be in. So the guys have obviously worked very hard indeed and not been able to come out with anything positive. Hopefully, there is going to be a very happy Jeff Fournier to speak to there very shortly. We'll try and get a word with him before the end of the race. I'm aware, of course, that the team is having a debrief at the moment. Epic Racing's Chris Shepherd, Jeff Fournier and Rob Mason. They will be chatting away about two very strong victories. But it looks to me as though we've got Tom Hinds back in the room. Tom Hinds obviously being flat out on the cameras tonight. It's been a really interesting one, Tom, and we've seen some cracking racing. This obviously gives us a little bit of a hint, certainly for you, going into Super League tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, indeed. So apologies if I sound a bit. This will be interesting for me because I'm getting double layering, so I'm actually hearing myself for everyone who's wondering. So I'll do what I can because it sounds like I'm, my own voice is talking to me. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting for tomorrow. Yeah, you're right. It's gonna really throw a cat amongst the pigeons because I'm not really sure what exactly to expect from that. It's Monaco, so